Little Madam Pomp has not been able to go out to play today because I'm scared she'll get blown away. So what is it in our life, in our business, when there's storms, when there's things we're not able to control? What can we control and how do we have more ease behind it? Well, in the case of my chickens, making sure to have an evacuation plan, different ideas in place, like what's the, best case scenario, worst case scenario, do I have supplies in place? So those kind of things, a lot of them have been thought about ahead of time. Like I always make sure I have food, especially in containers that can be to go. So things like that are ways that I make sure my birds are okay. And then what do we think about for our business? What about when the storms of life come roaring through our business and we might not know what to do or things to prepare for or things to be mindful of? And so this is where having like a coach, a mentor can really make a difference. And one of my hugest things is remembering intuition and guidance. And that was something in my first business I didn't rely on that. I relied on all of the external things and also feeling very victimized in like, oh my gosh, the economy's this way, or advertising's this way, or a customer behaves this way, or I can only charge so much. So it's like all those beliefs were outside of myself and my business. And then now I look at how do I have different ideas in mind where I can really take control. I can predict things. I can create recurring passive sales. I can build myself out of businesses. So things like that. And it's like, oh, if I lost internet, what goes on? I mean, I've been teaching live classes before and had the internet totally down and got creative like a hotspot. So then I told my students, hey, let's make sure everybody knows how to activate and use their hotspot. And also something to be mindful of is when we're talking about tech and hotspots is it likes to view it as a new internet. So like you switch Wi-Fi channels, if you think of that. So then for myself, I have security on like my email and different accounts that I log into. So it registers like a whole new different thing and you have to go through the security. So for a lot of business owners that I work with, they're like, my logins, my passwords, I have to go hunt. Well, can you imagine going through a storm in life? Like you have to evacuate, you need to do something, and you don't have your logins and passwords. Like, oh my gosh. So what are ways that you can set it up in your life and business to be, recession proof, to be economy proof, to be political proof, ideally? We've got all sorts of ways that we can do that. And, I hear sirens and I'm just tuning in with how I feel. When I first came out here, to this area, well, one, I never really considered fires. Then I had fear, especially after, so my mother had to evacuate when I was in Hawaii, and she was like, oh my gosh, like it was so traumatic for her. She talks about 12 hours of horribleness. And so I took on her fear. And so I would hear sirens and I'm like, oh my gosh, because you can see like over here, the hills behind, they were blazing and fire. And so she kept that fear. I was in Hawaii at the time. And what I did with that fear is I ended up absorbing it. And it was not until I was conscious of the fact that I absorbed someone else's fear could I let go of that fear. And that was my own freedom of like looking at that. And I had no reaction right now. Like here I'm live with you all. I'm hearing sirens and yet I'm not having that emotional response. And I feel like that in itself is true freedom, or what I like to preach around joy is how when the external circumstances hit, how do we keep our own internal foundation and keep that calm in the storm? And so that's where life, business, it's all tied into it. I mean, I could have had a complete like anxiety attack, a breakdown, like, oh my gosh, things are horrible. I could be all stressed and then maybe I couldn't run my business or freak out. Wow, look at this storm of blowing. You can see on the palm tree, like, woo, it's coming up. I have the birds in today. Like no one's walking around. Hi, ladies. Because, and even their blue, I have this like blue shade tubby thing for them, and that blew over. Like most of the stuff we predicted and like flattened it. Though there were some new things like the hot tub chemical things, like that whole shelf fell over. Like, and it was in a protected area, so it was like there's storms and where do we find that calm, that peace? Oh my gosh, this is what I wanted to show earlier. If you can see, oh, hold on, I've got to go in the net. The birds, oh my goodness, these, I love watching the crows fly over, and it is crazy for them too, all these birds. So, oh my gosh, so this is a house cleaning of our planet right now, blowing away. And yeah, so life and business, just feel good. And I love that comment we have is, you know, have fun and pursue your dreams. And that's really all that matters. And I love my life. I love my business. I am so grateful to be able to have an online businesses where my ideas, my thoughts, those produce income for myself and recurring income. And we also have got things that I love and hold important, like birds. Oh, like a Madam Pomp. So whatever it is that lights you up, these creatures bring me so much joy. And so it's finding that, loving it, and going. And wow, yeah, I got a fire notification right now that's, you know, there's wildfires popping up everywhere right now around, and just holding that things are okay. And gosh forbid something like that happened to me, I can still feel that calm, that peace. I could be in the middle of evacuation, or I could have flames all around. And how can I find that inner peace? So life, business, it's all the same, that we're all tied to it. Whatever it is that lights you up, find that joy, that fulfillment, that love, and let's work on implementing it. So that's all we can do. Love you all, and aloha. Oh, be sure, thank you for the comments. And so more comments, the better. So, you know, all the likes, subscribes, the love. I'm so grateful for you all, and aloha.